Hello there. Muhammad Ziauddin Yusuf just held a Reform UK conference on the subject of illegal immigration and mass deportations, and he was ably assisted by someone named, yes, Nigel Farage. Wasn't it funny how the party chairman, Richard Tice, was buried in the press conference audience? He must be a shy type of person. Anyway, the message I got overall was that Reform UK won't be deporting the numbers required to make much of a difference. And the really big issue for me is that everyone has missed the Professor David Betts angle, a professor of modern warfare and civil war, because many in some communities out there will have watched that press conference and will be saying, I'm here. I'm going to stay. But more on that later. What did you make of it, Richard?
Absolutely. Everything you just said there, Jeff. I mean, it was quite embarrassing, to be honest with you. I thought Farage came out and with these grand proposals to deport lots of people who have come into the country illegally. The full extent of which, though, is indeterminate. He didn't actually go fully into the specificity of it. The problem being, as you just said, Jeff, is that there are people who are embedded now in this country who will not leave. They will not leave without a fight. And that's what I think that's what you're getting at, and probably what Dr. David Betts was saying when he said there's no political off-ramp here. What Farage did there in between sort of Zia interrupting him and taking over completely, because, I mean, it was the Ziauddin Yusuf show. He's head of Doge. Why has he just got this incredible presence? I can tell you why. Farage hinted at it a long time ago. He wants Mohammed Ziauddin Yusuf to take over reform. That's a foregone conclusion now. That's going to happen, okay? So if you're voting reform, no, that's the future. And some of you may like Mohammed Ziauddin Yusuf. That's fine. If that's what you want, then fine. Personally, he's not my cup of tea because of some of his past escapades. And for a few other reasons, yes, I just don't feel that he's the man for the job. But yes, deporting potentially hundreds of thousands, that's not going to, it might stop the boats. Okay, it'll stop the boats. But what we've got here at the moment, we've got an issue which is systemic and endemic. We have something baked into our society where there's a lot of people who are here, who are apparently allowed to stay here, who don't love this country and don't want to be here. They've been granted the right to stay. And many of them haven't as well. It's a bit complicated, that one, Jeff. Over to you.
Yes, so what came across was that by Reform's own admission, they will not deport millions. And there seemed to be an admission from them at the end that a lot of people, even if they are here illegally, if they were sort of maybe Afghans who can prove they fought with the troops or whatever, they'll stay. And all this sort of thing. And you're sort of beginning to wonder where this is going. And I get the impression that by the time they get there and get into government, it will end up just like Labour with these token amounts of people being deported. Now, the one thing that really a lot of people have missed is that if Labour knows it's going to be thrown out of government completely and it wants all these people here, all they have to do is pass an Act of Parliament to issue an amnesty for all illegal immigrants immediately. And then they all get to stay. Or they could do it via the back door. They're going to be ejected from office anyway. So just before the general election, they pass this. And do you not think that all the Labour lovies are going to vote for it? Do you not think that all those people in the House of Lords are going to go, they won't care that it wasn't in a manifesto, they'll vote for it. And the civil servants will swoon over it. Everyone will think it's wonderful. I can see Keir Starmer doing just that. Just to please and appease. Whichever way I look at this, I get this idea that there isn't much we can do to stop civil unrest unless we really plan for it, and really plan to stop it. But I don't see anyone doing that. I mean, how many people?
That's a good point,
Nigel
Jeff.
Farage,
That's a really good point. That's such a good point. Nobody is planning anything to stop a civil war, Jeff. That is such a good point, and we haven't ever covered that, actually. Well, we've hinted that there may be people who would be the type of person to do it, but what's the plan? Where's the plan?
Yes. As someone says, a Grenville, deport Farage. Yes, I can see that.
I'm getting some of the comments
things
here. Sorry, Jeff, you carry on. Sorry.
No, go on. Go the comments.
Well, I'm getting a lot in the comments here, and there's something here. Nothing ever suits you, pair. This is from Mark Cruzzy Jones. Nothing ever suits you, pair. Let's just see how it pans out, because reform will be the next government. Now, there is a half-valid point here, and there's a lot of people saying, not a lot, most people are agreeing here, but a lot of people here are also saying, look, let them just get into power, they'll change, they do this first, and then they'll deal with... No, that's not on the agenda. There is no anything else on the agenda. This is it. Okay? Don't think that for a moment. That's not the way to look at this. But at the same time, reform will be the next government. I believe that very strongly. And compared to the other two parties, I hope so. But at the same time, I just wish it was Advance or UKIP. We know who's going to get into power. It doesn't matter who we like. We know that reform are going to be the next government. But we need to set our expectations realistically here. It will be incremental improvement. There will be no mass deportations of persons who hate this country, who have made this their home, and expect us to change to their ways. That we are in that situation, Jeff. Sorry, over to you, mate. Sorry.
Yeah, and the big thing is that if Labour hangs on in power, which I don't think they will, I think Nigel's right about that. I think that the economy is going to destroy Labour, or Labour is going to destroy the economy in a self-destructive move of their own, and it's going to destroy them. But all this nonsense, as Mirror points out, of leaving the ECHR to deport illegals, Germany, Denmark and Poland are doing this already. Yes, they've got the political will to do so now. In fact, it's hitting the European Union, or certain countries in the European Union, who have been telling all the others. Do you remember telling people like Hungary and Poland, oh, you're breaking the rule of law by not fulfilling your duties of taking in all the asylum seekers you can. Now suddenly countries like, Germany, Denmark and Poland are doing exactly the same thing. They found out that it's dangerous, not just dangerous, it's absolutely national suicide to keep this going. And we've got to a position, I think, in this country where drastic action is needed. But how many people will the state have to employ? And that's the thing. No one was asking Nigel that. How many people is this going to take? It's not going to take the police force as it is. It's not going to take the courts as they are.
Correct.
It's not going to take the civil service as it is to do all this. When people make these laws, there will be half the civil service will be absolutely hell-bent against it. And they will do everything they can physically and administratively to stymie it. Who in the woke establishment is actually going to man all the detention camps? Who? We're going to have to employ loads of people, brand new people, and we're going to have to pay them a lot of money to take charge of those camps. I'm saying yes, we should do it, but we need to plan that properly. We can't just come out and say we're going to make a few laws and it's all going to happen. We made laws against deport. We tried to deport flights, haven't we? And what happened? The passengers stood up and said, you're not taking off. And all the rapists and murderers got off the plane and stayed. And they surrounded that bus, didn't they? Do you think that's not going to happen? We have to have contingency plans for all of that. And that means building prisons to put them in when they try this, what is in effect treasonous mutiny. But, it's all about making it. It's got to be hard It's got to be really hard. You can't be hard on, on the asylum seekers or the illegal immigrants, whatever you want to call them, just on them. You've got to be hard on the people who have been supporting them for the last 30 years, and it's ingrained into them. Anyway, yeah.
Yes, there's a comment here. If Reform let us down, then we can try Advance or UKIP. I'm very much of that mind, but there's something that nobody's talking about here that everyone's missing. And it's only just occurred to me, I've been missing it, and it's quite obvious. We're all looking to reform for the next general election. What if... I mean, Farage was hinting at it. I said that the way that this country's going, he was saying that we're heading towards civil disobedience, civil war, effectively, and a breakdown in society. A complete breakdown. At that point, reform, the general election, Labour is going to mean very, very little. So all of a sudden, we're going to start looking other places. We're not going to be looking at political parties who... We might be looking at political parties, but those political parties are going to have to be much bolder. They're going to have a plan to sort out a civil war, not just sort out, a few deportations here. Yes, those people are coming across, we'll stop the boats. No. We're talking about something, some entity that will actually consider what needs to be done to calm a terrible situation down. And I think, actually, yes, vehicles like Advance UK and UKIP are the correct ones to look towards, because at least there's some sort of cohesion, the bringing together of a mindset, and the will is there to tackle some of the issues that we may very well face under a civil war. But the other thing to look at is things like the Unite the Kingdom movement, which some of you just think, oh yeah, what's that going to achieve? I can tell you what it's going to achieve. It'll bring us together if there is a bloody civil war coming. And we need to remember that. We need to come together as a nation. Jeff.
Yeah, a lot of people are just missing this whole civil unrest thing. It's sort of something that we talk about, but of course we're British, we're English. Things like that don't happen here, do they? It may be forced on us. That's the point I'm making. We have to save our country and do certain things to achieve that. But in achieving that, we are going to, as Professor David Betts has recognised, someone is going to get really upset over this. Someone on one side or another. And it's what they do about it that should worry us all. At the moment, we've had two governments who have said, let's just appease everybody. Let's kick the can down the road and hope it all goes away. But as time goes on, we're seeing that the can is not being kicked down the road. It's not going away. It needs to be addressed face on. And that is going to cause a lot of angst amongst those that might be asked to leave the country. And there is a lot of them. That is the point. A lot of them. But if we don't deal with it properly, then it just continues, doesn't it? Just continues and continues and continues. I think what Reform are hoping is that we can stop the boats coming in now, or when they get into power, but we're going to have to look after the people that are already here. Millions of them, who either shouldn't be here or who are here who don't like the country. How do we deal with that? It's not like the Palestine marches are going to finish. That's not going to end just because we stop the boats in 4 years' time, is it? Yeah, we've got problems all brought on us by this current crop of politicians, as they call themselves. All they've done is just imported problem after problem. They've imported a whole conflict, at least one whole conflict into this country. People could well be fighting on the streets over things that don't happen here. And that's all on these past politicians. We don't need any of that. If we want a safe country, yeah, it worries me where we're going to have to go to achieve that. And we don't need that. We can't want that. But there you go.
Well said, Jeff. There's a comment here by RPLA Modest. I can't read that. Anyway, Habib threw his toys out the pram like a pathetic child because he was too ungracious to step aside. Complete opposite to Dr. David Bull's proven loyalty. Sorry, I remember that. I remember a lot about Dr. David Bull, and especially the time when he was discussing with Richard Tice mandates for people. You know, arm intervention, the injectable cough syrup mandates that were being potentially thrown around for people in the NHS. I remember Farage wanting Tony Blair to be made almost like a czar for the arm intervention, to get that going, to increase the public role. I remember, we've all got the receipts on these things. Sorry, no. Two of the two people who actually made reform fantastic, Rupert Lowe and Ben Habib, are no longer in that party, thrown out. And Nigel was there today gloating over Rupert Lowe's proposal and saying, the difference in the amount of money that it would have cost to achieve the same thing was down to Ziauddin Yusuf being really good at maths. Oh, that got a cheer, didn't it?
Yeah. But a lot of people are sort of saying Advance UK. Nigel Farage might well be playing a game as well with this. He may be saying, if I throw this down now, then the others will have a choice. Back me or fight me. And if you fight me, you'll be seen as the enemy. So back me and my plan now. So that's another thing he might well be doing, because he has come out with this. I mean, when you think about it, let's sort of stand back. As a general, he has come out 4 years before he has a chance of ever going into battle over this, and he's laid out his plans for all to see, hasn't he? 4 years beforehand. Now, that tells me that either he's being a bit sort of going out before the starting gun, or he really does seriously believe there is going to be a general election very, very shortly.
Yes.
Now, if there is a general election very, very shortly, who will you vote for? That's the big question.
Yeah.
If it
would
happens,
be reform. Yes.
Yeah. And
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it as I said at the start of this is what we are going to be looking at, is incremental improvements, I think, and nothing more than that from Farage and from Reform, unfortunately. Maybe he'll prove us wrong. Maybe he is playing some clever game, and when he gets in, he'll be eyeing up, looking at millions of people being deported, potentially, and that will be that. And everything's all a big ruse. Even the fallout with Rupert Lowe and Ben Habib was all one big ruse, and it was all a big fake. And, yeah, a bit of smoke and mirrors. Yeah. Whereas this was the actual plan, in which case Nigel Farage just played 5D chess with everyone and has spectacularly won. I think that's the case? No. But I could be wrong. Look, we could all hope for something more. But look, we can take one positive thing from this. And that is, I think there's proof here that if there's credit to be thrown anywhere here, it would be towards Advance UK. Because I think that they have really held the feet of reform to the fire. They have stepped up. And I'd even begrudgingly say that people like Robert Jenrick have also held reform's feet to the fire by their position shifted. Because we, the people of this country, have shifted the Overton window ourselves. The coming together, or the uniting of the kingdom, and the protests by the Pink Ladies, for instance, at Epping and across the country. We have changed the Overton window. The politicians are now playing catch up. And not all of them. Again, Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe and Nick Tenconi of UKIP, they already knew the writing on the wall. They've been pushing this themselves for a long time. But now the Tories and Reform are playing catch up, because Farage's rhetoric has been for quite a while. Oh, no, there's no millions of people going to be removed from this country. And Mohammed Ziauddin Yusuf, he resigned from Reform when there was, I think it was Sarah Pochin mentioned the banning of the burqa. And he was like, oh, no, that's not going to happen. No. And then he resigned and then came back, Apparently it was a bit of a stressful time for him. So we have to give him the benefit of the doubt, ladies and gentlemen. he maybe was having a bad day,
Yes,
wasn't he?
absolutely.
Yes. I always resign when I'm having a bad day.
No, you just shout at me. There you go. Yeah.
True.
So, yeah, this whole thing is just, well, we shouldn't. It's that old question, when someone stops you in the street and says, "Oh, what's the way to the shops?" and you say, "Well, I wouldn't have started from here." That's where the country is right now. I would never have started a country from here. It's absolutely been ruined, and absolutely we've been let down. Well, it's not just been let down. The powers that be have been working to a completely different agenda to the one we thought they were up to. It's only in the last few years that most people are now catching on to this globalist open borders agenda. One of the things that Nigel Farage is looking at doing is this Bill of Rights thing, where British people actually have more rights than non-British people who haven't got British passports and British citizenship. So, but that's the thing that has everyone in the human rights section of society up in arms. We all must have the same rights. A lot of people would argue, no, the people that were born in Britain and have lived here all their lives should have more rights because they're British citizens and they live in Britain. I think what we should be doing is maybe I don't know if this is what Farage is looking at, but maybe we should just say, here are the basic human rights that everybody has. Right to life and all that sort of thing. Nothing excessive, just the basic human rights. And then you say, if you're a British citizen, then you have enhanced rights because you paid tax. You're part of society. You get the idea. So that all underlying this is a basic set of human rights. And I think that's right. Why should people just turn up and expect to get all the benefits after not putting anything in or not even being of the same sort of moral position as the rest of us? I just find that a bit strange. And as Farage did say, it's the duty of every country, or the government of every country, to throw the people out who shouldn't be here. And everyone else does it, he said, as was done by Germany and Poland.
Yes.
They're all doing it, and we're not, because we've got woke lefties who believe in the total open borders project around the world. Everyone can get on a boat and go to the richest nation they can find, and then that rich nation has to pay for them to live there and build a life there. That's how the globalist view works, so that no one can run off with the money and everybody can follow them and take it from them. That's the sort of view. And that means that people can't build up a club in a country is sort of like a club, an exclusive club, where the people that live there run the club the way they want the club to run, generally, and they have access to the building and all the rest of it. And people can knock on the door, but they don't have to be let in. The globalists don't like that. They want everybody to be let in, and that's it. And I disagree with that, really.
Right, okay, so there's a good comment here. So are we by Maca Grabern? Sorry, my just
put your glasses on.
Yeah, in it. So are we going to reform? So are we voting reform or not? General election tomorrow in 12 months' time. Absolutely, I am. Yeah. I'd rather vote for Advance. I'd rather Advance got in, I should say. By far, I'm part of Advance, and it's a very difficult situation. I've joined Advance, but if there's an election tomorrow, Advance themselves are not going to be ready. They're not going to be ready. And you put country before party. Hey, maybe Ben Habib will kick me out for saying this. I don't know. Whatever. I have to be honest and true with you people. Yeah, I think we have to be honest and true here. There's no way that Advance would be or UKIP or have the potential to win enough votes to unseat a single Reform MP, for instance, or even a Labour MP barely, let alone a Reform MP. So that's the sad reality of the situation. But very important to keep supporting Advance and UKIP, I think, because they're the ones holding the feet of Reform to the fire. They're the ones changing the help, and along with us, we're changing the Overton window. That's the important bit. So, are we voting reform? Election tomorrow, yeah. 4 years' time. A lot can change in the 4 years, though. And here's the other side of it, which I mentioned earlier. If civil unrest starts to kick off, then this whole thing about voting reform and splitting vote, that's all gone. That's all over. Yeah. You're going to be looking for something other than reform at that point. Reform will not be the party that will step in and do what would need to be done to quell any civil unrest. Because I think we know the extent of such civil unrest, and it would be hideous and awful. And I do believe that people like Ben Habib or Nick Tanconi or Rupert Lowe are the men who would step into such a breach. They would be, cometh the man, so cometh the hour, cometh the man. And I think that's what we would see, Jeff.
Yeah. Hypnopompic State says reform banned new media from the announcement, which says everything. Now, I didn't realise that. Actually, when you think about it, it would be nice to have a few from the new media in there asking some questions. There are some large players.
That's a very good point. A very good point.
Who could do something? Yeah, someone up here says, Longbow Tar says, I expect some secret government agency is already plotting and prepping their stool pigeon to get the war started. Possibly, yeah. It's these are weird times, and this is going to be very. This is going to get very, very serious. When I will look at what David Betts is saying, I'm looking at it going, he says there's no off ramp. Now he's no beginner at this. He's a professor in warfare and civil war and matters of such things, and he can't see an off ramp from severe civil unrest as far as I can see it. So what plans do our government and our people have to actually stop that? In fact, the best thing that this Labour lot could do right now is to actually say, right, we're going to take reforms plans and we're going to implement them as of today and just start hitting it hard.
Absolutely.
Before anything else can be done by someone to stop it. But they're not of that ilk. They do not believe in that. They believe in inaction. They believe in letting it just ride. And in 100 years' time, it'll all have sorted itself out, leaving potentially dead bodies behind it. They won't care about that. They're looking for the communist utopia, where we all sit around the campfire singing Kumbaya together. The fact is that if we go through a civil unrest, there'll be generations of memories that will never allow that to end. That's probably why we haven't had a civil war in this country, because we never really had an actual real civil war. Not a real, face-to-face everybody. There was royalists and roundheads and cavaliers, but
that was a bit of a civil war.
The actual, but there's no memories there now in families. What did you do to my family and all that sort of thing. Yeah. And that's what keeps things going. If we have any unrest here today, those memories will last for 200 years. And
Jeff, mind you, I'm telling you now, you've never been to Merthyr Tydfil. I tell you what, there's generations upon generations of grievances that take place there. So a comment here by Mega Tree 4. Farage is the best available. Okay, now then, is he the best available? No, not at all. But compared to the other options, electable options on the table right now, are we comparing him to anybody in Labour, anybody in the Lib Dems, I would even say anybody in the Tory party, because yes, Robert Jenrick's saying all the right things and all this, but come on, I don't trust them. There they are playing Action Man out in France, as I said yesterday. The Action Man out in France when he wasn't. Now he's doing it, but he wasn't doing it when he was actually in government himself. So I don't trust him. So is Farage the best available? Probably. But that doesn't say a great deal, does it? So, out of everybody who is electable, that doesn't mean who's on the voting card. You know, if there's Nick Tanconi versus Farage, it's Nick Tanconi. If it's Rupert Lowe or Ben Habib against Farage on the voting card, Farage loses badly. But we've got to be adults about this, Jeff, haven't we? You know, I could, you know, it's one thing, you know, to just, I know there's a lot of anti-Farage sentiment here, and I share it, but we have to be realistic here. If there's an election tomorrow, are you going to let Labour back in? And there was one positive, which, I mean, it goes without saying, really, and that was Farage talking about freedom of speech being a wonderful thing, although he should start exercising it within his own party. Because don't forget, no, exactly, Jeff, exactly. How many people were reprimanded and kicked out for tweets and things they'd said on social media? So it was a little bit hollow, him saying that, to be honest with you, Jeff, but I don't know.
Yeah, especially
when you consider...
No, especially when you consider he said we had political difficulties within our party, and then so he ended up kicking two of them out, didn't he? Rupert Lowe and Ben Habib. Now he's talking about freedom of speech. Yeah, I can see your point, Richard. I can see your point. Yeah. And Froggles Boggles says, Jeff and Richard, are you applying to the Advanced UK College? I shall buy you both a bacon butty if you do. We'll be back to the food, are we?
Oh, no.
I'm sorry,
you're
I'm
no,
getting...
No.
I'm standing back, and I'll just sit watch. I'll back Advance UK and Ben Habib. I'll back them, but I'm staying out of the fray at the moment, I'm afraid. Now,
same here. Yeah, for a number of reasons.
Clive Wolford says, I've just seen Nigel Farage talk about deporting all illegal immigrants. Stop this nonsense, Jeff. Well, actually, I saw him say that we'll be keeping children, and we'll be keeping the Afghans, some of the Afghans that fought, you know, if they fought with our troops, even if they got here illegally. That's what I took away from that. It's either all or not. You know, this is the whole problem that I have with this.
There's more to it, Jeff.
It's going to be very difficult.
I mean, there's more. I didn't see him addressing fully, which is one of the main problems we have, is the extent of how many he'll be dealing with. Now, he's talking about stopping the boats and new arrivals. How far back does that go? Oh, yes, okay, emptying hotels. Fantastic. Fantastic. All great. But we've got issues that are far more endemic within our society than just the deportation of illegals who have come across. Our biggest problem is not actually illegal migration, it's legal migration. The amount of people who are coming here through loopholes is way in advance of those people who have come over on the boats. You know, we have to look at this seriously. Yes, if anything, I would say this whole illegal migration situation is a bit of a ruse, actually. It's a bit of a red herring when you're actually looking at the real situation here. It's a bit of a look over there, but not look over here. Legal migration in this country is a very major issue. Yeah.
I mean, Ziauddin Yusuf said that there was something like 1 million here or thereabouts. But the one thing that I sort of thought to myself was, does that include all those who overstayed their visas, all their student visas? Are they counted in that million? Or are they somehow separate because they had a visa and they've just overstayed it? Do they then become illegal immigrants? Or just is that something different? And so there's a lot of defining out there that needs to be done as well. Because if you take that into account, you might find it becomes 2 million. I don't know. That the numbers that, because we don't count them in, we don't count them out. If the visa says you're here for 2 years and they just stay, no one, maybe, so what? And they can go, and in fact, they can just go and work and all sorts of things, it seems to me, or disappear into the underground economy. So I don't know.
Jeff, the criteria for entering the country legally is so low now. You know, anybody can virtually just walk into this country. So that's the real problem. And that's what we need to be looking at, Jeff, is the real issue that we have, which is legal migration. And that's what a lot of the people in this country are are very annoyed about. It's not just those who came over illegally. There could be equally as potentially nasty people who came into this country legally. How well are we vetting every person who comes into this country? That's the question. Not very well.
Well, it used to be easier when we didn't allow that many in the first place. But now it's just a case of the march through the institutions, the globalists, the left wing, the wokesters. They've all taken charge and they've dropped all the rules. They've just said, no, there's only one rule. Someone wants to come, they stay. That's the only rule as far as they're concerned. They don't want to see anyone taken out. They don't want to see anyone stopped coming here. They have plans for this country, and those plans do not include us. They don't include us at all, other than paying for it all. That's all we're here for. Yeah. Yeah, now we're getting into the sort of, unlike Ben Habib, Tenkoni was born in this country. And you know, I've met Ben Habib, lovely chap, really nice, and absolutely straight as they come. So I'd trust him any day.
Yeah, comments like that, Jeff. Sorry, that means nothing to me. Okay, let's just apply the same sort of measurement of what qualify. If that's a measurement of qualifying a person's right to stand for to be prime minister effectively, then in that case, well, what about all our liberal lefty wokesters then? Okay, they were born in this country. Have they benefited this country? No, they haven't. As has been pointed out previously, people are flying the cross of St. George across this land right now. St. George was not a British-born individual. No, he wasn't. And sorry, I am assuming St. George's gender here, that he is a he. Yes.
We're making assumptions there, Richard.
I know.
Yes.
I could get arrested for that, just assuming his gender.
Yeah. Anyway, Malky says, if this chat is anything to go by, we're in for another 8 years of Labour. Well, we're not saying that we take another 8 years of Labour. What I think is that there is an election in the next few months or the next year, Reform is going to be the only people we can vote for, because they'll be ahead in the polls so far. But as we get nearer the 4-year mark, in 4 years, 3 or 4 years' time, the political landscape may have changed, or it may not. So it's very difficult to plan 4 years.
It's not linear, Jeff. It's not linear.
No.
It's not. This is the point here is election tomorrow. Advance is not going to be ready. Neither is UKIP. It's not going to make the inroads that would be required to change this country. It won't. Okay. Under those circumstances, if we keep vote splitting, yes, we at this point now, then yes, we would be looking at potentially letting Labour or coalition between Labour and the Lib Dems back in. So we don't want to be doing that. But things look very tasty at the moment. And as I've been saying earlier, Jeff, if civil arrest is on the horizon, Farage is not the man to deal with that. It's going to take a man of real character and strength. Somebody like Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe and Nick Tenkoni and Tommy Robinson, people who will stand out and unite the kingdom. You know, we need a bloody king right now. Look at that wet, useless, bloody whatever it is we've got in Buckingham Palace. Look at it. Just look at it. What is that? That's a king, is it? Oh, okay. My goodness. The bar is pretty low these days for becoming king, I can tell you. Oh, you just have to be born into this inbred family then. All right, well, sorry I wasn't born into that inbred family. And I'm sorry that people like Tommy Robinson weren't born into that inbred family. But I tell you what, people like Tommy, they're more likely to be king than you are in another 10 years, I can tell you, Your Majesty. And I'm not talking about your health issues either.
Yes. There we go. John Dingle, thank you very much. Yusuf butting in over Farage. A power play. Yes, yes. Well, in actual fact, it was more like Farage sort of okay.
Yeah, but that's right. He was stepping aside continuously. It was the most bizarre thing. I was like,
Now,
It was like,
this is the
I'm going to
thing
bring the boss
that
on.
I saw a lot of comments in various social media things saying normally Farage doesn't let people do that. Farage takes charge and doesn't let anyone in at all. But with Yusuf, it's weirdly completely different. Should make you think a bit. So, yeah. And thank you, Wisdom Nuggets Tidbits. Illegals ruining the beautiful English culture, praying hard for England. Well, we're all doing that anyway as well. So thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. We are praying for England.
It's it is getting. This is the country I grew up in, the country I was sort of bred in, and all the rest of it, whatever you want to call it, nurtured by, and all my forefathers and foremothers and all the rest of it. They built a country to be proud of. Yes, we made mistakes, blah blah blah, but they made a wonderful country. And while we were out and about colonializing everyone, they all just kicked us out, didn't they? Now they want a piece of us because they obviously haven't got enough of their own. So yeah, it sort of does stick in the craw a bit sometimes. But there you go. That's just me.
So, Jeff, I've been picking up on a lot of the negative comments. People saying, "Look, reform's our only option," and as I said, right now, yes, it is.
Isn't that what we're saying? Isn't that what we're saying?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, it's not what we want, but it's the only incremental best option we could possibly have
At the moment.
At the moment, precisely. I mean,
thank you, Fat Cat.
Yeah.
He says that, or she says, has Anne-Marie Waters recovered herself yet? Wants her back. I met her a couple of times and I listened to what she said. Very forthright, and most of the stuff she said was, what shall I say? It was factually correct.
Yeah.
So
I have seen her on a podcast recently.
I'm not going to go any more than saying that.
Yeah, Andrew Gold, I think, had a podcast interview with, I think it was Andrew Gold, or was it Liam Tufts? Can't remember.
Yeah, and John C. E3K says, Islamification of the UK is also a big problem. Yes, that's something that we should be aware of. Now, a lot of people out there go, oh, it's only a religion, just ignore it. I think they need to do a bit more reading into it than that, and that's no phobia there.
Yes, but I know, but what we're doing, though, Jeff, we have to say now, Online Safety Act, we have to definitely say here, is that the Islamophobia is a terrible thing, and it enriches our country, and we all love it, and we all want more of it, and yeah, that's what we have to say. Yeah. Sorry, a cough for some reason.
Stop coughing, Richard.
Yeah, sorry.
And thank you again, Fat Cat 747. Who is behind all this destruction of our country? Fu Manchu, Ming the Merciless, the elongated head people who hide beneath the sea. None of them. It's called the Labour Party, the Tory Party, Westminster, the Civil Service, and all those types of people, and the international supranational treaties we've all been signed up to all these years by previous lots of the aforementioned. They've signed us up to everything in the UN and everything in the ECHR and everything everywhere that they can find that will hamstring us into the future. It was happening to America as well.
No, it's the elongated people who hide underneath the sea. I'm convinced of it. I mean, the civil service are very much behind this, but who's behind this? I actually no. You do at some point, unfortunately, have to go down that rabbit hole, and you have to ask yourself, come on, who is behind this? Who's pulling the strings? I've got a good idea, Jeff, but then we start going into religious territory. But yeah.
Yes, and we mustn't forget that there was this the table of Muslim businessmen who paid $2,500. Oh, no, it's 25,000, wasn't it? A pop, not $2,500.
I think it was. I think it was 25 grand
to have dinner with Farage. Is Zia being planted? Possibly, I don't know. And now a lot of people out there say, "What difference does that make?" If it depends how embedded the religion is. It's a difficult one.
Yes,
because
Jeff.
Of course, you can't talk about it. You can't talk about it.
No, you can't talk about it. We can't talk about anything. Everything in that question, actually, Jeff, is something we can't talk about, really, and that should tell you something. Thank you to
Yep.
Grand Dorks.
Yeah.
We can't really talk about that in the way that we'd like to. I think that should tell you something.
Yeah. Protests Clacton-on-Sea Friday, 7 p.m. at the Town Hall, says George Williams. Thank you very much. Yes. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of protests out there. I think they're going to increase. And this is because we'll see no action from anyone, no real action from anyone until we get a change of government. It's not going to change. Labour is not going to change it. We know that Lord Hermer and Keir Starmer and the entire lot of them they are reliant on international law to change the country into what they want it to become. That's why they sign us all up to this stuff. They sign us up to all these things in the hope that they can then put it into UK law to make it change to what they want it to be. They have no regard for us whatsoever. That should be evident to everyone by now. And part of that is is getting rid of Christianity for a start and replacing it. And that's what should worry us. Because I don't care what anybody says, you cannot wear a cross in a hospital, but someone can wear a Free Palestine badge on their lapel while operating on a Jew. That's happened.
Yeah.
That is a matter of record. It's happened. And it shouldn't have. If you were of the Jewish faith and you were ill, would you go into the NHS now? I mean, would you? Ye gods.
Okay, so I've got something quite important to say here, and this is something I picked up on. And it was a comment by Farage, and it told me everything I needed to know about him today, and it really angered me, actually. And that is, there was a comment thrown at Nigel Farage about, what's her name, Angela Rayner's new home, and second or third home, whatever it is. And he then sort of came and said, well, you know, blah, 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 blah. Do you expect people to, our politicians to, you know, or you media types would have us politicians in sackcloth and ashes? I thought, okay, do you know what that term means? You clearly have no understanding of the Christian faith if you would band that about. And the answer to that is yes. I expect the entire nation right now to be in sackcloth and ashes and bowing down again before Christ and absolutely repenting of our individual and national sins, the wrongs that we have done, our walk away from God. We need to be, as the metaphor is, in sackcloth and ashes before the King of this universe, before Christ. Never mind talking about our Judeo-Christian values. That means absolutely bloody nothing unless you start applying it to yourself personally, Nigel. And this country needs to apply it right across the board. Until we become a Christian nation again, we are damned. We are doomed and damned. And I don't care if you're not a Christian or not. That is utterly irrelevant right now. You need to get back to being. We need to get back to being the country of our forefathers. If we want the country of yesteryear, the country of yesteryear was not built on secularism. It was built upon Christianity. Jeff.
Well, it's good to see you sitting on the fence as usual there, Richard. But well said. Yes. Lynn Blackburn says, reform isn't the answer for the UK. Yes, 2CTV was banned from the conference. I didn't know that. So, yeah, it's interesting that. Maybe it's just because he's, as you say, new media, and they're trying to appeal to the old media and the old voters. Because remember, that's exactly what was said, wasn't it? Oh, you won't find votes on the right-hand side of the, you know, down behind the cushion. It's in the centre, under the cushion, where all the votes are. Well, he seems to have moved quite a lot to the right-hand side of the sofa at the moment, doesn't he, with what he said today? And that's what worries me from his past pronouncements. I just wonder how far this will actually go. and whether he's just trying to sound good for a certain because all those people that joined his party, all those Lib Dems, remember, that joined his party, I wonder what they're thinking about that right now. Right, okay, so Dan wouldn't mention the Reform MSM silencing a week ago or two ago. Yeah, I hadn't heard. I can't listen to everything. The amount of stuff I read and listen to, I can't just, that one passed me by totally. I mean, doesn't that tell you a lot, though, really? I mean, what I'm just wondering what they would have asked that other people didn't ask. In fact, I thought, to be honest with you, I thought the mainstream press went very, very gently on him.
Oh, yes, totally. That
Didn't
was so. And did you notice the same question being repeated? It was the same. What if they go back and they get tortured? It was the same, and it was just right across that multiplied. It just continuous and question, same thing, repetition over repetition. I was like, what? And it almost seems like he was prepared for it. He seemed so well prepared for it, and his diversion tactics. He didn't actually say. Well, he did say along the lines of, "Look, we can't be responsible for all the ills and sins in the world. We're just trying to work, to do this for the people of this country." It was very well crafted bit of theatre. I think it didn't feel like a genuine Q&A, though. That was the only problem. Especially Camilla Tomney. Her question, I can't specifically remember what it was. It's just very odd. Very odd, and that was leading in. Her question led into Angela Rayner's, third home.
What on earth did Angela Rayner's third home have to do with all of this, other than to deflect away from everything? And
Precisely.
And it's when you looked at all the questions and you're going, is that all? Because what that tells me is that maybe they're lining up Nigel Farage's party to be that they move the Overton window just enough to get him in. I don't know. Things didn't sound right, didn't look right to me for some of that. It just, Ziauddin Yusuf in charge, answering quite a lot of the questions at the end as well. Richard Tice having absolutely zero say.
Exactly.
He should have been the one. He's the chairman. Why wasn't he? Things.
What is going on there? Something doesn't add up. It doesn't add up.
Does something pass the sniff test or not? As they used to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we missed a few. All right, here we go. Thank you very much, Alan in the Wild. Thank you for your contribution.
Thank you.
John C. E3K, thank you. Big up the Baldies. Smooth is good. Got to agree with that. Yeah. Unlike some people, I took, like Richard, we just took the view that when it starts falling out, the best thing to do is get the razor out. Hair falls out, get the razor out. And you got people. When I go into a shop and I stand at the queue behind someone who's got an obvious comb over, I just wish I had a razor in my pocket. It just accept it. But that's just.
Well, I'm not so sure, Jeff. Maybe I'm thinking of going for a comb over now. Yes.
No, you are not.
If I grow my hair back
with a comb over,
I've got a tufty bit here. If I grow my hair, I look like Coco the clown. It sort of goes out here, and it's like the mad professor. I look like Albert Einstein. That's a good look, though. I'm gonna have to go for the Albert Einstein. Sod it. I'm gonna grow everything back. There's a beard up here again. Yeah. Anyway, come on, Jeff. Let's. Yeah.
Thank you, Brian Luff. Garage Farage is a failure. Nor Welsh Assembly. I'm assuming you don't want the Welsh Assembly either, which is quite a lot of people are coming to that sort of view. Yeah. Here's a good one. I love this. Fat Cat, sick of people saying it's a Jew plot. It doesn't help.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's strange that a certain section of society thinks that, the sink is blocked and that's a Jew plot. Everything is a Jew plot. It's not. It really isn't. But So, but it is, there are a like-minded lot of people out there from many governments across the world, and they're not all Jews at all, and many industrialists and commercialists and all the rest of it, big corporates who believe they should be running the world and making a lot more money and all the rest of it. And some of them are definitely not Jews.
It's a Satan plot. If you want to know the truth, it's a Satan plot. That's what it is. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. And Alan in the Wild says, give Reform our support for now. They are our best option, and if they screw up, we can vote them out. Gives Advance UK a chance to build in the meantime. Yeah, I would like to see Advance UK really build fast.
Yes,
and,
yes. Yes, Jeff, I agree, yeah.
At the end of the day, it would be great if they all got together, but I'm afraid to say that Rupert Lowe and Ben Habib are not going back into the Reform UK fold. I just cannot see it as long as either Nigel Farage or Ziauddin Yusuf are in charge there.
Yeah.
If that changed, that might well change.
That would change everything.
But I'm not going to speculate on that.
Yeah.
Brian Luft says, thank you very much, says, Reform in Wales means no free prescriptions. So what people are worried about is Reform takes over in Wales and they lose their free prescriptions. Is that right, Richard?
I'm not entirely sure. I didn't know that Reform were plotting to remove free prescriptions for Wales. If that's the case, that's not very good for the Welsh. I mean, the Welsh have put up with quite a bit, to be honest with you. This is why people look at things like Independence Wales, and it's not to be sniffed at. I mean, this is something that, for instance, you have to live in Wales. Jeff, you've been here, and you yourself have experienced this. We went around lots of parts of Wales, and the one thing you turned around to me, as you said, in mid Wales, and the nice areas around Brecon, a lot of the areas around Brecon and around Hay-on-Wye, and you said to me, Jeff, you said, I didn't hear a single Welsh accent. I'm like,
no,
yes, that's correct. Second homes here are a major problem. It's ridiculous, and locals can't afford to live here. I wrote many years ago a piece, Jeff, called "The Ghettoisation of the Welsh." Most of the Welsh now are being ghettoised into the South Wales valleys. That's the only place they can afford to live. The rents here are astronomical. To buy, it's way up, many multiples outside of an average person's income. So that's it. The people who live here now have moved in. Some people retire back here who've moved away from Wales, who are Welsh, and moved back. But yes, I know a lot of you be thinking, why should Wales get free prescriptions? It's like, well, let me tell you something. Wales has actually been milked quite strongly by this country. That's very true, by the way, Jeff. I'm sorry to say it is. And we're getting a bit of a raw deal here. But anyway, hopefully a pulling together of the nation can sort this out. I don't see why prescriptions should be paid for in Wales when other wealth has been extracted from Wales. I'll leave that there.
Yes. I think we could have a discussion about that one. But anyway, the upshot is that while we are importing so many people who we have to pay for and put up in hotels and allowed to have free prescriptions, free dental care and all the rest of it, then we are going to have to pay more money. We are going to have to pay for it all. We, the taxpayers, have to pay for it all. And the trouble is that now all the lots of hotels are have been taken over. I know it's reduced, but I think it's going to start growing again under this administration. They're not earning money from people coming into the country. No, that's taxpayers' money now being thrown at those hotel owners and the contractors and all the rest of it. So it's not growing the economy. Those hotels are not helping to grow the economy at all. Not in a real sense. It boosts GDP, believe it or not, but it doesn't boost GDP per capita, and that's the main problem. So, yes.
Comment here. I always love the negative ones. Grenville Kembers, I think it says. Kembers, whatever. Anyway, it says, Richard, Wales is paid for in its entirety by English taxpayers. Ha 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 ha. Wales is an incredibly poor country for most of the Welsh. Most of the Welsh, the land that's owned around here in Wales, the vast majority is owned by people who are English, not by the Welsh. And it's quite a sad situation, to be honest with you. As I said, you've got just low-income jobs, people on low-income jobs, no way out of a bad situation. I've grown up in it. Sorry, I know this might be unpopular with many of you, but I lived through this. I saw it. And I saw what happened to the Welsh. And I saw the wealth extraction take place. All of a sudden, it's like places, my old village where I grew up in, which is not far from Merthyr Tydfil, that has changed unrecognisably now. It's filled with people from the home counties, and people say, oh, well, Welsh person sold the house. Like, yeah, are you not going to sell your house then? Are you not going to sell it for a decent price if you can afford to get that? Because that might be your last chance of making any money in this world. And this is not against English people. Look, I'm English myself. I just have a Welsh accent, okay? I was born in England. I'm half English, as well as the half Iranian side. But I can tell you now, it's a very, very sad situation with what's happened in Wales. And yeah.
Now, someone's pointed out you can't run in the USA for president if you're not born there. Some would have an argument about Obama on that issue, because there was lots of theories abounding about where he was born, but I don't know. But there is, in my mind, there has always been a thought that maybe all the politicians that make the laws for this country should be born in this country. But we opened it up to everybody, basically, who can get citizenship, and people from around the old Commonwealth and all the rest of it. So we've just ended up where we are. But what we did was I don't think people realise that people who hate the country would actually end up being in our parliament, making our laws. And there is a growing number of people in there who detest our country and us. Now, Jennifer McDowell says, I wish Ben and Rupert would join and unite. So do I. They were joined and united. They just had two different ways of achieving the aim. One wanted to make a party to stand in elections and actually affect change. The other one, Rupert Lowe, wanted to form a movement and act as a pressure group from the outside. He's already an MP. He's sitting alone as an independent. But it comes down to which of those two methods do you think works. Now, some would argue that UKIP was just a pressure group before we got the referendum, but the real truth was that when we got Carswell and Reckless elected, they defected, resigned as MPs, stood again under the UKIP banner and got elected. When that happened, suddenly everything changed. I think it's standing for Parliament and getting seats is the most important thing to do. That's my view, anyway. Anyway, Richard, we have been going for an hour.
Oh, we have, haven't we? Oh, dear.
Yes. And I think it's
Jeff's
time for my lunch.
Jeff's going to need to eat some food. Yes, I told you.
Yes,
he wants
he
his
is.
food.
Yeah,
yes,
yes,
he's angry
absolutely,
as usual. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, we will be back later on, around the 6 o'clockish mark. And I've got something which I want to talk to you about later on, and that's about, I've mentioned Wales here, but about something that this country, not just Wales, that this country is missing. And it'll be built into our conversation later, but it's quite an important one. And it's something we need to start doing. I'm calling it the remembering. All right? We need to start to remember, because we have become so bombarded by social media and believing that this is the norm, that this is a normal way to be. It isn't. We are living in a fake, made-up version of Great Britain. This is not Great Britain. Whatever this is, it's not Great Britain, and it's dangerous. And I hope that we can one day turn this thing around. We really can, Jeff. I think we can. I think there's the potential we can turn this around. It's a slight chance we can do it. But if things are even if civil unrest is ahead, then okay. Well, maybe this will help turn it around at that point. We need to remember who we are. And I'll be talking about that tonight. And it won't be boring. No, you're not going to nod off. It's going to be emotional. It's going to be passionate. And you're going to want to listen. So what I recommend you do about 6 o'clock-ish, come back and get your tea ready. Actually, have your dinner on your lap, as you're eating, and listen. Those two are on again. Yes, let's just press. There we go. Let's listen to Jeff and Richard having one of their rants about society. And yes, and we will entertain you. Well, it'll be emotional. You might be crying in your tea, and if you've got a can of Stella there, you might be crying into the top of your lid. But yes, let's do it. Let's do it.
Right. Yeah. See you later, then, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
And on that
God
note,
bless you all.
I'll just say it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him. Goodbye.
Goodbye.